Sometimes people ask questions about, give us an example of something practical. There may be a bipartisan effort right now in Florida. We've got some people there, a gentleman named Joshua Simcox, and another gentleman, Theodore Pardo, who are part of our team. My other half, Reina, is there also, and she's brought us some of our most valuable contacts and relationships in this effort. But Joshua and Theodore have brought us a couple of opportunities for bipartisan support, going to President Obama's desk to really accelerate the idea people have had on a more limited basis, but we're really elaborating, and that's the call for the creation of departments of peace throughout the world in every government on earth. So if you want to talk about a practical program that's so easy to define and demonstrate, and you almost can't get anybody, a few skeptics who say, it's impossible, but nothing's impossible. I have an aphorism I wrote that says, never say never except when you say never say never. So this Department of Peace, you'll see how easily this is definable. How do we measure civilization? Too often by our technology. And our technology is impressive, but let's not leave out the human element. So how do we measure civilization? How about the way we treat ourselves, each other creaturely life, and how we manage and adore and steward the earth and our precious resources, her precious resources and our life support systems. So there's another way I characterize civilization and measure civilization. How many departments of war are there versus how many departments of peace? Gives you kind of a look at both sides of that ledger. So there are about 195 countries that officially recognize each other. There may be about 250 or 60 in total, but 195 officially recognize each other. Out of those, there are 184 departments of war, cabinet, ministerial levels and powers and secretaries and so on. How many departments of peace among those 195? Not even one. Now, I want to wax a little bit emotionally because I often don't. But we're entitled to indignation, and we should all be a little bit ashamed and embarrassed by the fact that we are supposed to be a civilized race of beings. We have 184 departments of war and not one department of peace. That's shameful. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. And certainly, it's the consequences of that reality are visible in the world. It's a terrible situation. And something absolutely has to be done about it. We don't want departments of peace only in the governments of the world. We want them in the religions in the world. But every house of worship, whether it's a church, temple, synagogue, a mosque, an ashram, we don't care. There are people in every one of those houses of worship that love peace, and we want representatives and delegates and peace ambassadors in every one of those, so that we go to the governments, we go to the religions of the world in the houses of worship. We go also to the schools of the world and encourage the classrooms, the people, the school, the educators, the teachers, to have a process. Elect your peace delegate. So if there are 1,000 sixth grade classes in Los Angeles, we have 1,000 sixth grade peace representatives. So it works vertically and horizontally. And also among corporations. Now, corporations want to do business. They want to do big business. They want to be successful. Why shouldn't they have a Department of Peace to contribute in some way to securing a safer, saner future for the entire human race, especially the children of present and future generations, but also to keep a secure and safe environment for themselves to do business in? Some people say war is big business, war is good for business. Only for a few companies. The survival of the human race and the continuation of our species is much, much, much bigger business, and we need to get about that business. So again, in getting out there with our team, some of the activities and efforts, our various vehicles, the concerts certainly, I want to introduce Ray Charles Jr., who just had a very interesting experience in China that is absolutely unbelievable. I could scarcely believe it, and yet I know it to be true. Ray will tell the story and a few other things. I introduced Ray Charles Jr., and we're grateful to have him here.
Thank you, Doug. Greetings, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm just simply flabbergasted. I'm just so excited about this initiative and to be here with Klaus, Doug, and my esteemed colleagues that are so accomplished. And literally, when I was introduced by my good friend Reginald Evans to Doug, I just simply wanted to be an ambassador for this cause. I knew it was much larger as a global initiative. Peace is so elusive. It's spoken about so much, but as you know, it can literally touch you just like that, as it has in the last week. And it is so elusive, and it's used so loosely. And so I said, I'll do everything within my power to be an ambassador to spread the word, because of the colleagues that he has and the partners. I said, there's really nothing I can add to that. I've already worked with Paul Flattery in producing my first television production, which was extremely successful. I knew of his work. I knew what kind of work he did. And I said, you have everyone in place. All I can do is really find you money or continue to spread the word, because I travel all over the world all the time. And it's a very interesting story. So I have an associate from China that we literally had been going back and forth to China, working on getting some negotiations done with the cultural ministry. I lecture in China. I started lecturing in 2010 on an accomplishment on my book and film. I lecture on film and music. And so while, on this trip, I hadn't gotten too much response from my other colleagues. So I basically made one call. I said, look, I'm representing something that's simply tremendous. It's a really great project. It's called WP1, and I want to bring that to China. I want to sit down with the investors, because every time I go to China, they're asking me, what do you want to do? I have no idea. I didn't have an event like this. What do you want to do? I said, geez, I just came here to lecture. Let me just enjoy the country. But they continued to ask me what I wanted to do, and this was what I was able to bring to the table, to my contacts that work within the government, that have production companies that really bypassed the associate I had in China for me. But I made one phone call, and I wanted to sit down with this billionaire who was building this whole community in another part of Beijing, and I wanted to pitch him on that. And I told him WP1, and they said, hold it, I'll call you right back in 5 minutes. Well, I got a call like in 3 minutes, and he says, we need to sit down with you. Their office is right across from the bird's nest. We need to sit down with you immediately, because we were dealing with WP1 in 2007, and we lost contact with them. And for some reason, for whatever reason, the individual that was in the middle, these two entities did not know each other, Jawa and WP1. And within 3 minutes and one phone call, I was sitting down the next day. I was looking at all the documents from Klaus Nobel to Gentile, the president, and all the documentation from Doug, and his communication back and forth with the ministry, and all of the invitations that were sent out from the Department of Ministry to Madonna, to U2, all the invitations that had gone up, but they had not been in contact with each other in 5 years. And so it was a very euphoric feeling. It was also very strange, because they said, this is like an act of God. So no, it's just me. And I made the right phone call, and you have the documents, and this is who I'm dealing with, but I will make a phone call. But to make a long story short, that's when you know something is right. You had two entities. For whatever reason, it did not go through. They had all the documentation. the ministries are very excited about doing this project, but not only that, we bring the money, we bring the contacts, and that was my gift to them coming back from Beijing last week and for Klaus Nobel today and for this World Peace One initiative. And I just wanted to be a small piece, maybe a wick, to be a catalyst to something much, much larger than myself, and be a legacy continuing to build on what my father has done and for my grandchildren and my children. And I think we will far surpass that in our efforts, because there's no way that we can fail with the individuals and the colleagues that we have to put on this with our esteemed Global Peace Council led by Klaus Nobel and Marcus Nobel. There's no way that we can lose in this, and we shall echo something that's never been done before in this world, which is about peace. But we'll be exercising that in what we do. Let what we do speak louder than what we say. And if we do that, this will be a lasting legacy that will continue on generations for generations. And I believe that because there's no way, out of all the people in China, I make one phone call and I connect with the documents that they sent 5 years ago. And so that's how God works. I mean, this is meant to be. And if you just watch, you were here in the beginning. And as Chuck said, I looked at it from the end. And I was standing across from the bird's nest because their office is right across from the bird's nest. And all I can do is picture hearing all the applause about this event happening. And it's a vision that I want to make true, and I shall do that. And I'm just grateful and honored to be here today. And stay tuned.
Thank you, Ray. He put me on the phone with somebody, this representative from China, and he said, China loves World Peace One. Various ministries, they're all aware of us, and we're truly grateful. It was an amazing incident.